So just making a quick video here to tell you what I'm doing. I have in here bones from a whole roasted chicken that we purchased at Sam's, and we've eaten off of that. You'll see here with my Instant Pot, we have the remainder of the chicken in here processing, but we have the bones, and I have some vegetables in here that were scraps from cutting things up over the last couple months, and I just put them in the freezer, as such as like onion skins are very, very high in minerals, so I always put onion skins in here. And I like to put like I have parsley stems in here. There's some vegetable scraps just from cutting the ends of vegetables off. Things that I don't feed to the chickens, I usually will just put it in the freezer, and then once I have a bag full and a chicken carcass that I can reduce, I will put that in here. There's a couple other bones in here, a steak bone, I think there's a couple rib bones, but it'll all make a yummy bone broth. And then once this broth cooks on low for a couple of days, I will put it into jars and pressure can it so that we will have it on the shelves for future meals. Hi, I talked about making bone broth, so now I'm just going to show you. It's very simple what you do. I have a crock pot full of very hot, very heavy bones and broth. And I actually came in with a potato masher earlier today and just mashed it down. And you could feel the bones just crunching under, which is good. That's what you want, because you want the goodness from inside the bones to come out into your broth. So now I'm going to pour this through. I've got a pot down here to catch it, a fine mesh strainer, and then this will catch the big bits. Just going to pour this in there slowly and try not to make a mess. Easier said than done, and it's very hot, so the steam is burning me. Ow, ow, ow. Oh, sounded like I was pouring it down the drain. I've never done that before. But you'll see in here this mash. This is like mash. And this is just the mashed up bones and tiny little bits of vegetables and meat that were left. I'll show you an example. I'll have to get the tongs because it's hot. But if you see, this is an example of the bone. And it has got marrow in it. In the end. And that's the good stuff. And see how easily that falls apart? I can just basically crush it. So that's good, because that means we got the good stuff out of the bones, which means those minerals went into our broth, and that's why I'm straining it, so that the broth will have all that yummy mineral content in it. So when I make rice or soup or beans or anything like that and use that broth, we get all that, not only flavor but nutrition, minerals, and all that good stuff. So I love these bags because it makes cleanup relatively easy. And I cracked my crock pot some time ago, so I have to use these bags or it goes right through. So I'm going to move this out of the way for now. And we have the mash here, which I will end up feeding to the chickens, or you could compost it. So I just mash it a little bit to try and make sure I get all the majority of the liquid out. And then what you'll see here left. I suppose I could leave this drain for a while just to get every teeny tiny drip. Yeah, I'm gonna do that, so I'll be back. Okay, we've been draining for about 30 minutes. It's no longer dripping. And you'll see here that some stuff fell out, and that's why I like to put the fine mesh underneath to catch. And what we're left with is a beautiful broth, and you see all that fat on the top. So I have a trick for that. I saw one of these being used by another YouTuber, and it's really neat because you just click this and the broth comes out the bottom, grease stays at the top. So this is like a little rubber, so that's pretty neat. And what I'm going to do, because I want a really clear broth, is I'm going to strain it even more with a finer mesh. And I'm going to pour that directly into here, if I can without making a mess. No, I cannot do it without making a mess, but and then I'll just let that settle so that the fat goes to the top. Looks like that came out pretty clean. So it's been a few minutes. I'll let this separate, and you can see the line of fat up there. And I'm just gonna fill these jars. These are washed, obviously. I'm gonna put the fat in here. And there will be some broth in here, but that's okay. I'm gonna put this in the fridge. And then once it cools, I'll pull the fat off the top, and then I'll just use the broth for something in my cooking this week. So I'm just waiting on this to cool a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and get the grease off the rim of this. Ooh, it's hot. And I'm going to use the old InstantPot here. And this is an InstantPot Max, so you can use it for canning. You cannot use a regular InstantPot. It has to be made for canning. This says InstantPot Max, and it actually has a canning button on it. I don't guess you can see that, but it does. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set this in there, and I'll get this staged while this cools a little bit longer. So here we go. So I want to go to 1-inch headspace. And some vinegar water. And just wipe the rims to make sure there's no grease on there. We pretty much settled the grease through. by going through this, but you never know. So we're just gonna double check, make sure, and then this is hot. Of course. So this InstantPot Max holds 4 pints. It won't do quarts, so we're just gonna do pints. And then I'm heating up some water because we have hot liquid. We want hot water in the canner. You'll set it to canning. So instead of firing up my heavy duty canner for this, I didn't realize I was gonna have 8 pints of broth. So I've got 4 in the InstantPot Max and I've got 4 more filled. So I'm gonna wash this pot and set it on the stove with a little bit of water in it and just put it on warm so that these 4 that I have waiting stay hot until the Instant Pot is available again. And so I just rinsed the grease out of there, and I'm gonna I'm gonna put just enough water in here to go maybe halfway up the sides, and then just keep it warm because we want hot broth in the hot canner, and the canner will be hot once we take that out. It has to warm up, which it's almost there. It has to stay at 250 degrees for 20 minutes, and then it has to depressurize, which takes about another 20 minutes. I don't have water covering these. I just have enough water to go up most of the way, and I've just got it on low so that I know they will stay warm. And then this is what I have left. So I've got a little bit of broth left and I have a lot of fat. So I'm not gonna throw this fat out because it's really yummy fat. So I'll put this in the fridge and I'll let it cool, and then I can skim the fat off of the top because it'll be hard. And then I can put it in a baggie in the freezer or use it some other way. And then this little bit of broth I'll just use while I'm cooking this week somehow in anything, make gravy out of it. I don't know, but I'm not gonna waste it, that's for sure.